Comment prospérer même pendant la crise? Bonjour, je suis Sébastien Like, le fondateur du mouvement des entrepreneurs libres. Et aujourd'hui, je fais cette vidéo avec un invité spécial. Nous sommes en direct avec Jay Abraham, auteur du livre best-seller Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got. Ça, c'est mon exemplaire acheté en 2008 qui a voyagé à travers le monde avec moi et même pris un peu l'eau lors de voyages en mer, qui est donc presque toutes les pages sont cornées parce que c'est un des meilleurs livres d'entreprise, selon moi un livre que tout entrepreneur devrait avoir lu et qui existe en français sous le titre « Comment tirer tout ce que vous pouvez de tout ce que vous avez » aux éditions Alizio. Aujourd'hui, Jay Abraham est avec nous pour parler de comment vous pouvez prospérer pendant la crise. Je vais réaliser cette interview en anglais. Il y aura plus tard un sous-titrage de la vidéo, mais on attaque tout de suite pour vous, entrepreneurs libres et entrepreneurs libres anglophones. Hi, Jay. It's good
Hello,
to be.
Sebastian. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, and in the most part because I've been applying some of the principles that I've learned from your book and from you over the years, and that I would like to share with our audience today. So I would like to start with just, if you could just explain why the current situation that we are in. So at the time we're making this video, the world is in lockdown, the economy is in turmoil in many countries and businesses are affected. But in conversations, and I've heard you speak to other groups, you've mentioned how now is also a time of opportunity. So would you mind sharing why the actions that someone as an entrepreneur takes now are even more important than what they would do in a normal time?
Sure. So in a normal marketplace, I don't care anywhere in the world, people are defiantly possessive of their own business, and they are very low probability to do any kind of partnering collaboration. Whereas, Sebastian, right now, there is a window of opportunity that has opened up wider and deeper, and it will never, ever in our lifetimes be available this wide and this deep and this receptive to structure collaborations, partnering deals, joint ventures, co-marketing, endorsements, strategic alliances, packaging deals, co-distribution with companies that would normally be totally unwilling and unreceptive because they need money. There are more opportunities to do that right now than will ever exist, and they apply up and down what I will call the food chain, meaning large companies can do it, small companies can do it. You can do it with complementary products. You can even do it with people that sell competitive products that once somebody uses it, they buy some other competitive product. So there's a massive spectrum. That's the first thing. The second thing, Sebastian, is that there are far too many businesses out there that have been so impaired financially by what's happened. Their cash flow has stopped. Their business has come to a halt. They are running out of money. They have inventory. They have debt. They are probably going to lose their business, or at very least consolidate their business. And before that happens, if you can identify who they are and you can contact them, you can structure deals where you don't buy the business. Instead, you buy the assets. You buy the buyers, you buy the prospects, you buy the IP, you buy the URL, you buy the phone number, you buy the key people if there's great salespeople or any skill set. You consolidate it to your business, and now that we're working from home, you don't need to even bring them into your office. You just need to have a business where adding that is going to cost you very little additional to serve. And you give the company you acquired all this from, the company that was in trouble and was very probably going to go bankrupt and lose everything, you give the owner a share of the revenue that generates forever from those assets and IP that you bought. The next thing is what's happened in the States, Sebastian. It's very interesting, and I presume something similar might have happened in the countries that you operate. But we have 17 plus million people out of work. If you look at it, they tend to be at both ends of the skill set spectrum. They're either very low skilled or they're exceptionally high skilled. The high skilled have gotten terminated or laid off or furloughed because they cost too much and or that job can't be done by that person easily right now because the business has stopped or the category isn't really active because the buyers aren't buying. The people that are out of work are used to making very large salaries or variable. They are sitting at home, scared about how they're going to pay the rent. Before they lost their job, they had extraordinarily deep and rich and very strong relationships with decision makers, buyers, and all kinds of other organizations. If you can target these out of work, high skilled people with strong relationships, and those relationships are with buyers that would be perfect for you, whether they're competitive or whether they're complementary, you can find these out of work, high skilled people with the relationships on LinkedIn or whatever other platform you use. They're sitting at home. They need to get a new job, but it's probably not going to happen soon. And a lot of them are going to earn a lot less when they get a job. You can contact them right now, and they literally are going to be very receptive if you can win their trust about why your business, product, or service is desirable. You can get these people to go back and contact tons of their previous clients, buyers, influencers they know, and direct them to you and just pay these people a share of the revenue that comes. And last, there are here in the States probably 1.5 million talented salespeople who are right now out of a job. They have nothing to sell and they're sitting at home, and most of them make almost all their money on commission or bonuses, and they're not selling anything, so they're starving. And there's going to be so many of them on the market, they're not going to get easy jobs. Right now, you can find them easily on LinkedIn. You get the category, it says available. They're very receptive. And what you do is contact them, pardon me, and engage them to help you with the 3 previous categories I said. Have them go to basically companies, magazines, newspapers, radio, TV, platforms, bloggers, podcasters to set up deals, partnerships to promote you. Have them go to companies that are weak, either companies that sell the same thing or things that are complementary or things that are alternative competition, and try to see if they can start discussion for you to buy the assets on a pure performance basis, or have them just go out and target brand new buyers for you and give them a share. I got more, but that's really a really cool sort of a trilogy that you can go after.
So what you're saying is that right now we have an unforeseen, unequal opportunity to buy assets or to access assets that were financially unavailable when it was a booming time and business was booming, and some companies that would never even take our calls before if we wanted to offer a partnership are now interested because of the current situation. But you're also saying we can access talent and we can access the clientele of these talent because they are available. And one of the questions that came up in the chat right now, based on what you just shared, is what you mentioned here, which is buying the assets or buying the talent, like by hiring those out of work, high level people that would need, do we need existing cash resources in order to be able to do that? And how can we cash in on that opportunity if we don't have the cash resources?
Okay, well, in normal times, the answer is you would need cash. In these abnormal times, you just need a viable plan that makes intelligent sense to this person staying at home, whereby he or she can use their relationships and their ability and their historically created trust to connect those people to you. And all you have to pay or invest is a share of the revenue or profit that occurs when deals get made. If they bring you new clients, you give them a share of those client revenues or profits for as long as they come in. If they are able to find businesses that you can buy all part of, get control of their IP, pardon my voice, you give them a share of what you monetize. If they go out and set up deals, you give them a share of the deals. If they go out and get you direct new buyers, you give them a share of that. But it's all paid on results, on performance. And the reason they will do it now and they would never do it in the future is they're sitting at home. Many of them here, worse than maybe there, they've lost their job. Maybe they get unemployment for a high-paid former either skilled person or salesperson barely pays a car payment. They have to figure out very, very quickly what to do to replace their career, their job, their money. They do not have the latitude to do a lot right now because they're homebound. There is so many people that will be competing for salary jobs that when the market opens up, they're going to stand in line and compete against millions more. Right now, you can go to them and show them that if they have 300-400 contacts from the past and they are perfect for you, and they can connect 50 of them, and 50 of them start buying, and they start spending $10,000 a month for whatever you sell, and on that 10 there's $4,000 worth of profit every month. And if you want to pay that sales that connector 25%, that could make that person $15,000-$20,000 a month for bringing you that client. You, on the other hand, would make 3/4 of that, and you would have invested nothing other than the time to connect and direct that contact. If you had 20, 30, 50 of those people doing it for you, it's very cool. And you can also do it, Sebastian, with totally different businesses that have nothing to do with you. You could create businesses at will by consolidating a bunch of people that have a bunch of relationships, and then consolidate people who are out of work that have the skill set. You could put businesses together almost at will that you control 80% of. You can give little shares to these other people. They'll love you for creating new opportunities, revenue, and careers for them. So I mean, it's really infinite.
So this last idea that you mentioned is, if I understand it well, is the toll booth idea, right? Where you go out and reach one business that has a great product but has trouble marketing it, and you connect them with another business that has, for instance, the audience for the product, and then you have them do a joint venture together where you get a cut of the profits when business A markets their product to the audience of business B. Is that what you're saying?
That is one interpretation, but the wonderful thing, Sebastian, is you're not limited. You can actually create entire businesses. Let's say that you identify 5 different people from 5 different companies that have lost their job. Let's say all 5 of them worked in advertising, and they all 5 were the contacts to clients of their respective agencies. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say each one had 100 clients that they dealt with, hypothetically. So in my example, now you have 500 prospective clients who trust these 5 different account executives or salespeople who are now out of work, right? If you went to agency support people who are out of work, and a lot of the high-paid ones are out of work, whether they're the buyers, whether they're the creators, the whatever, and you put them together as a new agency, and you had the 5 hypothetical salespeople that had relationships with clients from different agencies, direct all those clients to connect with you for a brand new agency you started from scratch with no money, just by putting together these skilled people. If you started with my 500 hypothetical and you only got 50 because you could demonstrate superior value and benefit, 50, if the agency was making $5,000 a person, would be $250,000 a month, $3 million a year profit. If you had those 5 salespeople working for you, and they all got a salary and a variable based on the fact that they created the income themselves, and the 5 or 6 support people did it, you'd still be making yourself probably $1 million a year just by putting that together. And once it was established, you could either grow it or you could sell what you created in that moment back to those 5 or 7 people for $2 or $3 million and let them pay out of the revenue, and you could do that all day long.
So here's a question that came up in the chat based on your suggestion, which is, if you are not well known yourself or established as a superstar in a given market, how do you contact and convince someone who is a superstar to joint venture with you, partner with you, or promote your product? It's a question for
There's a couple of answers, Sebastian. The first is, don't go to the biggest first. Go to ones that you can access, that may not be as high up the food chain, but would be very motivated to accept and want to do these kind of deals with you. The other is, if you don't know a superstar, then you find a way to contact one and show him or her the deal that you're talking about, and that show them that there's very little downside, show them what they would get out of it, and overcompensate them on revenue or performance or results, and win their trust. But I mean, the point is, you don't have to start at the top. You could do this small and do it all day long, all over France or all the countries that you market to, and it's very doable. I've done it over many cycles when there was down markets, but you'll never have a chance to do that. You'll never have a workforce that needs money and is not going to. They certainly would love to have a big salary, and they'd certainly love to have a real job, but until they get that, they need money. And if you can show them that they've already, it's a sunk cost, whether it's the relationship they have, whether it's the businesses that they've built that they might lose, whether it's the skill set and selling they have, they just need to redirect it. I think you're going to find that variations of this are extraordinary.
So that brings us to back to something that you mentioned that I would like you to give. I think you have many concrete examples of doing this. When you mentioned that companies right now are often in a cash crunch, so they are looking to monetize all of their inventory and assets. And one of the assets that you mentioned is IP, intellectual property. One of the questions that came up in the chat was, so if you're going after a company that has content, intellectual property, brands, courses, videos, books, knowledge, things like that, how can you give us an example of how it could be repurposed to create or generate a new business? I know that you've done that with books in the past, probably with other types of products.
Sure. You can use, if it's services, you can either package those services along with something you sell or something you build with other things you put together and make it a very, very irresistible low price for all they get. You could take products that are unique that you can acquire very low or for nothing if you can prove that people that start using it will buy over and over again, and you can get a piece of the repeat back end. You can take methodology, processes that maybe somebody uses in a business that is localized or a regional, and you can use whether it's their marketing, their operating, their production, their selling approach, their advertising, and you can apply that to another business in a non-competitive market. You can acquire their distribution channel. They may have a very unique source of buyers and market reach that they've created. You can get use of that and give them a royalty. You can take their expertise. Maybe they are consultants who have underutilization, and you can use some of their services to provide to your prospects or buyers, either in exchange for spending time listening to your sales approach, or when they buy the entry-level product, they get $5,000 worth of consulting on top. Those are a few ideas.
So in that situation, how would you approach contracts about the joint venture? Do you believe they are necessary? Do you think, because some entrepreneurs I know are always a little bit scared, let's use the word, when it comes to having things in a contract, because they're not used to the...
Well, I think the way I would do it is, first thing I would do is go to the target company or influencer. I would basically, I would introduce myself and say that I've studied your business. I'm very impressed with what you do, who you do it for. I'm also aware of the impact, this crisis has had on you. I believe, unless I'm wrong, your business has been struggling as well as most. I have identified a way that I can help your business generate significantly more immediate revenue for no additional cost or risk by accessing areas, markets, buyers, distribution you normally wouldn't reach. That's one approach. I will do everything turnkey. You will get whatever you want to give them. You can give them half of the revenue. You can give them so much a transaction. It can be one time. It can be something that builds ongoing. And your message is, I will get you significant revenue starting almost immediately. Revenue that will help you pay your bills, help you keep your business going. And that's the first approach. The second approach is, if it looks like their business is really struggling, you modify it and say, I believe that my business, while seemingly competitive, could be your your white knight. And what I propose is let me acquire your buyers, your brand, your IP. Let's figure out how that can be integrated into our business, whether you're directly competitive or complementary. I will agree in writing to give you a permanent share of the profit or the revenue for every account I get that we take on from you, every buyer that comes from us using your marketing, every person that comes from your URL that we'll maintain, and we will pay you. We will reconcile and pay you every month for as long as those buyers purchase, meaning if they buy 20 times, you'll get paid all the way through. If I am right, I'll be able to write you a check right now and ongoing that is larger than what you probably are netting right now, trying to keep the business alive.
Mm-hmm.
I will help you also do everything possible to get out of your business, sublease, close down, negotiate with your landlord, repurpose people, sell your equipment, look at your archives, anything you've got. And then you'll have the choice, if you want to stay associated, we will make you a ambassador executive whose job it is to go out and set up relationships, find new clients, and you'll get an override on that forever. Something like that, Sebastian.
So you're saying even a business that is directly competitive,
yeah,
can also become
right
a joint venture partner. And I'll give an example, because people in the chat were asking for examples of something very simple. So I have books. I do. So my publisher is the publisher that published your the French version of Jay's book in France, and so this is a self-published book of mine, but I cannot sell anymore because Amazon is not shipping. So I'm in the position where I usually sold books all the time. I couldn't. I have books in stock in Amazon. Can't sell them. However, I have another book which is with a traditional publisher. So this is a more recent book, but the publisher never wanted me to sell the book online because it was competitive to the bookstores.
Sure.
But it happens now that all the bookstores are closed, like everywhere. So I reached out to them and said, well, would you be willing if we partnered and I could sell, if I can sell the books online, can you ship them? And they were thrilled, because basically right now the whole business is stopped. Nobody is buying in the bookstores, which is their main point of sale. But so now what they said is, actually not only can I partner with them on my book, but I can partner with them on other people's books. So I have Jeff's book here. I don't have your French book here. I have the original English one, but I'll also partner with them on selling Jay's book, for instance, because now everything that's an opportunity for them to create revenue in the current situation is good news. So they'll be happy to do it. Now I have a question for you, Jay.
Yes, sir.
Which is, in a situation like we're encountering right now, what's, in your opinion, because you have the expertise of decades of coaching entrepreneurs, what's the number one problem that entrepreneurs get stuck with in times of perceived crisis? What stops them, and how do they manage the issue?
One is they continue thinking traditionally. The next is they become reactive. Third is they don't focus on the opportunities in adversity. They look at the dangers and the negatives. Fourth is they don't travel outside their reference zone to see that other people's problems are the solution to their problem, and that their problem is the solution to others. They do not they can hear things like this, but they don't believe things like this. So they're stuck trying to do what they've been doing in a market condition or a market environment where the whole psychology is different, and they don't understand that we call it power shifting or power pivoting, that they have to be able to shift, but those shifts can be the greatest no risk growth opportunities possible. They have to try to figure out what they can do now to get people transacting business. And that business could be cash business now. It could be business that the people we're talking about, the clients, the entrepreneurs, start fulfilling on, but don't bill for a couple of days, weeks, cycles, products, purchases. But they have to have a better model that overcomes whatever the constraints are in the mind and the motives of the markets they're trying to reach. But I think it's a matter of looking at the situation from what I'll call a nonlinear, a very different slant that you can't do if you don't transcend the rigors of the way you've been thinking in the past.
So you're saying applying nonlinear thinking, and
Yes.
And we do have a program. There will be a link on our page where you get the opportunity, if your business is a fast-growing business, to have Jay look at it and give you suggestions and strategic guidance to get there. So we'll have a link with this video to help you do that. But I'm going to ask you about the nonlinear thinking. What are the steps someone should take right now? So let's say I have a business where I'm selling singing classes, either in a traditional school or an online school. How do you apply nonlinear thinking to it so that even though the business might be right now slowed down by the crisis, how do you rebound from there?
Well, there's a number of ways. All right. So if you're going to sell singing classes, you've got, you would ask yourself, if there's the following. There are people who have never bought classes but can sing. There are people that have never bought classes and can't sing. There are people that are buying classes and it's just hobby. There are people that buying classes and they're progressing. There are people that are buying other products or services that are complementary to classes. People who buy singing, which is a hobby, tend to also explore and pursue other hobbies. When they become good at singing, you might put them into extra fee-based groups of singers. You could organize concerts, virtual concerts that people pay to be part of, and you can charge a nominal amount to people to observe. You can get famous singers and charge money for them to have clinics for your students. You can have group lessons that your student can invite other people in their family to Zoom in on. You can record their music and put it up on some of the websites, or create your own website and figure some way to either monetize it or get followers. Those are a few.
Thank you for the examples. I think one of my goals with the call today is to help people expand their thinking and to help them get prepared. So obviously, based on what we said at the beginning, obviously the best way to be prepared for a downturn or a crisis is to be prepared before. So having a profitable business where you are saving some cash, where you have some time that gives you the time to think and to think without being reactive inside the business. All of that is things that people should have been doing before. Now that they are in the current situation, what you're saying is that if they apply nonlinear thinking, they can still be better, not better prepared, but better react or better take on the situation. So what would be, if there was a magic trick, and this is one of the favorite questions I ask in the interviews, favorite for the attendees. If there was a magic trick, it could be a strategic insight, it could be a tactic that works almost every time for almost every business. What would it be? Like if someone was saying, okay, we are down now, but we want to get back up, and what is the most unfileable step one?
Okay, well,
and we have a magician in the chat that's just laughing at my suggesting we should have a magic trick here.
But that's a great idea. It's very cute. I would say that probably a couple of things. One, if you make an irresistible offer that is not useless, if there's enough people in your buyer base that you know have the capacity, the interest, the need to keep using your product or service, if you take your product or service, a package, or you go outside and you get a unique either variation of it, complement, additional product or service, and you make an irresistible offer to get them to buy it, but you don't just make that offer by itself, you make it part of something they continue to rebuy again. In other words, maybe you get something that you charge very little for and you tell them, I want to start you buying again, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to get you this $500 product that normally you'd have to pay full price. It's only going to be $100, or it's gratis when you commit every month to get a minimum of 5 service calls, whatever it is. You try that. That's one way. The other way is always upgrading to a more expensive product or service. Within any buyer base, you almost always have a finite number of people who want, who will appreciate, who will pay, and who will gain more by you offering an upgrade, a VIP, a special, an advanced, an intimate version. Secondly, is look at every product, service that you offer and look at everything else people normally buy before, during, after, instead, and figure out who offers those in the outside market and negotiate deals where you can package those or offer those to your audience and realize at least equal and sometimes all the profit if that product or service would produce ongoing repeat sales for the person who provided it for you. But there's a few ideas.
So do you think that marketing post-crisis, say during the crisis or when we have gone out of confinement and things are back to a new normal, but do you think that marketing will be different or will need to be different after the crisis?
Yes. I think you're going to have to think differently, be more inventive, be more distinctive, be more packaging oriented, be more incomparable, be
What do you
more,
mean when you say packaging oriented?
being able to put different product service combinations or usage combinations together in ways normally they've never been done before, so that you're both creating incomparable offerings that are no longer commodities, and second, where you are helping force your client to avail themselves of a number of product services together, which will produce a greater outcome, but will also multiply 2 or 3 times over the size of the transactions, and thus the increased amount of profit you'll get from the sale. And then by making that something that you set up that's not static, that's not just one purchase, but is ongoing, and making it worth their while, both in price and also in what it'll do for them performance-wise, I think you can move business away from your historic competitors, and you can own a lot more if you start shifting your thinking.
Thank you. So that leads me to a different question, because you mentioned that if there was a magic trick, it would be coming back to our existing client base and communicating with them with this package-oriented mindset. So creating an irresistible offer that adds a lot of value and is hard to compare to the competitors' offers. Now, in terms of acquisition, right now in the current crisis, there are so we are in an interesting situation where a lot of people are spending a lot of time on online media, so social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, things like that. And would you say that now is the best time to communicate on this media, or to use different media that might be less used by competitors?
I think a little bit of both. All the media you just referenced is being offered at prices and access that I think are lower than they've been for 10 years, because there's not that many people using it. So if you use it inventively, if you use it masterfully, if you use it strategically, if you use it in ways that nobody else has, I think that they can be more valuable today than they ever were. I think you should pursue all kinds of other media, people's platforms, partner with podcasters, partner with podcasters, partner with bloggers, any kind of organizations that are for or not for profit, that have landing pages, that have platforms, that have communications. I think this is the moment where your creativity, your nonlinear thinking, your ability to see correlations between types of buyers, access vehicles, distribution channels, influencers, and your company is going to make you very, very, very explosively successful. And you're going to spend less if you do it right, because you're going to move most of the cost from fixed speculative to variable performance, and only be paying for results that come in.
So to corroborate what you're saying, there's someone in the chat saying that in the current crisis, they had never had such a big budget for their Facebook advertising spend, and he is working it, he says. And I'm seeing a similar situation. The person that was in the chat was a little bit concerned that if everybody is consuming content on those platforms, wouldn't the costs to communicate there rise? But actually, it's been the opposite, because business owners are feeling fearful, so they're spending less on ads, but there are more people watching the ads, so the costs of advertising have gone down by a multiple for many businesses.
Yeah, people, I mean, individuals are using them more, but advertising is down. And the one thing people have to realize, it's a phenomenon. You'll never have a window where you have more attention either, because people are stuck at home. If you can engage them, they have 24/7 right now, and people have insomnia because they don't know what to do. They're bored, they're getting fat, they're sluggish, they're stressed. I mean, you never have all of these. It's like a perfect positive storm of opportunity if you can understand how to capitalize.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because um, how do you communicate in a way that does reach people in there? Because we talked about like platforms and offers, but if someone was just going to run the same ad they've been running for 5 years and they're running it now, it might not work.
Probably wouldn't work.
So what would they need to change or edit or improve?
Well, uh, I think reality is such that failure to acknowledge what we call the elephant in the room is dumb. I
Mhm.
mean, acting like everything is great is insulting the intelligence of whomever you are targeting. Acknowledging, hey, these are very, very stressful times. These are challenging times. The majority of business owners, entrepreneurs who are reactive and continue doing things the way they have up before January are probably finding already, if not dramatically, that they are not working. There is a reason. We can promise you that what you need to do is incorporate reality, current reality, scary reality, sobering reality into the mix. Depending on what you're selling, you say, you know, the crisis has put everybody in a real uh, stressful place. A lot of people are trying to figure it out. Some people are running out of money. Some people have money, but they're afraid to spend it. We would like to offer you a way to keep your whatever going and growing by, and then you figure out by offering you what we call our crisis package. We're going to, for the next 2 months, offer you what we normally would sell for X at a discount of 30% as long as you lock in a delivery every month, or we're going to do this for you and not bill you until 2 months later to give you the benefit of the advantage of the knowledge or the use of the product or service, and let you start paying later. Or we're going to give you training on how to capitalize to the maximum degree on ethical opportunities that are existing in adversity. Or we're going to give you lessons in what we call crisis based business growth strategies. These are methods and mindsets and uh, hold on, and strategies and
It's also network.
yeah, that work when when people are in need of guidance and certainty and assurance and comfort and things like that, Sebastian.
So what you're saying is when we make a special offer in a time of crisis, there are two options. One option is to have a discount that's related to the current situation, but the other option is with or without the discount, we can just add more value that is specific to the situation clients are going through right now.
Yeah, and I think the deal is to deal with the truth, show them what you're doing to help them, show them why what you're doing makes sense for them to act upon, Show them that right now when they need you, you'll be there for them, and you may not make much or any money, but you want to make them able to continue going forward, to keep going and growing in their job, in their life, in their business. And you tie it to that, but you rationalize. You don't leave any surprises. You share the method to your madness. You share why you're doing it. You acknowledge that you're doing it not to make a lot of money. You're doing it to make a lot of difference. And you basically say you've looked around and you're surprised that more or none of your competitors are doing it. And you would imagine they would, but the fact that they're not disappoints but excites you. If no one else wants to do it and you're the only one that believes in contributing and investing right now to protect and enhance your market, your client's future, you hope that they will be eager to take advantage, because you're going to be in this together for the long term.
Thank you. And speaking of that, then how do you deal with risk when making such an offer? So I'm going to take a specific example. We have someone in the chat right now so they do live events, training, seminars, conferences, and they are trying to figure out whether they should make a special offer for those and planning for the post-confinement situation, or if it's too risky to make the offer now without knowing for sure what the future holds.
Well, you can do some things not unlike what we did. You and I had a program schedule, and we had to reschedule it, right?
Yeah.
So what we did was we moved it, but we gave everybody the equivalent of a distilled version of it on top of that, so that they would have benefit right now. And in fact, it probably had more value because originally they were coming for normal times. They were coming to grow their business normally. Had that been the case and we had done it before this happened, they wouldn't have had a strategy to deal with the crisis. Instead, what they got was strategies very custom to deal with what's going on, and they'll get what they bought when we're able to schedule it live. I think that people need to utilize virtual. They can do virtual by itself, or they can say, because of what's happening, we want you to win two ways. Right now, we are going to give you a very special, focused training program, virtual, that is the equivalent of a $10,000 event. But that is going to not be the totality of our contribution. You are going to get a live $10,000 event at the end of the summer. The specific date will be confirmed as soon as we are formally off of lockdown. But the way we look at it, you're going to get crisis strategic guidance right now to help you formulate your current and your go forward strategy. Then when you come to the live event, you'll be able to give us feedback. We can course correct, we can build. We'll have historic observation and a broad knowledge base to build on. This is better than double. You're going to get basically the best short-term strategies now on video conferencing, and then you're going to get private, individualized, in-person, live in 2 or 3 months. And normally that would be twice $10,000, but we're only charging you $9,500. And because we want to be your greatest benefactor, you can pay $3,000 now, $3,000 in 6 weeks after you've started putting these methods into play and you're starting to pay off and monetize, and the rest right before you come to the live one.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is any offer that's contingent on the crisis being over, the best way to make it is to make sure we are providing enough value upfront and contingent of the crisis being over, that it's a no-brainer for the client to take that offer because the risk is much lower for them.
Yep. But you make sure that they appreciate the value you're giving them and the distinctive relevancy of each part of the value.
Okay, makes sense. So what would you say is the number one cause of failure for businesses in tough economic times?
Well, in tough economy times, first of all, they don't have offerings and value propositions that are in alignment with the market. Second, they don't have enough superior advantage to make whatever it is they have out appeal to three alternatives. Alternative one is other competitive choices. Alternative two is alternative choices. There's always multiple ways to deal with whatever the issue your product or service addresses. There's your type of product or service, and then there's alternatives. For example, you might be selling a weight loss supplement, and your competitor would seem weight loss, but there's other weight loss supplements or other weight loss services, portion control food, equipment, gyms, personal trainers, video training, all kinds of things. And then the last thing you have to compete against is equivocation, contemplation, inaction, which I call access denied. So you have to be able to not just think through, but masterfully know how to move people in all of those alternative realities over to you. And that makes you need to have a proprietary offering, and proprietary could mean many things. It could mean the way you put your product service together. It could mean the way that you disseminate it. It can mean the way you price it. It can mean the way that you the additives you include. It can mean the risk reversal you put onto it. It can mean trial periods, but all those variables have strong impact and influence on what happens. But if you stay doing basic stuff the way you've always done it, you're going to basically die a dismal death. If you decide you're going to innovate, you're going to outthink, out-strategize, out-package, out-value, out-position, eliminate risk, out-price in terms of either the package, the terms, the deal, add as far as components, package, I mean, you're going to win. And also partner with people that have access to your market.
So you're saying that having a commodity business right now is the kiss of death?
Yes. If I had a commodity business, I would either try to sell it, I would try to repurpose my buyers, I would try to figure out how to add to my commodity other related complementary product services that would make it a hybrid proprietary product where I was not competing against everybody else. Mine was so superior because mine was not just X, it also had product or services on it that, and we got a little bit of feedback, that made it unique and distinctive.
Okay, so if you have a commodity business right now, it's like two exits. The two only positive exits are selling it or coming out on top with a proprietary offer.
And make it preemptive too. And I mean, and it can be done. I mean, we can spend time teaching people. It's not hard, but it's very critical. It's mission critical, it's survival critical, and it's success critical.
So could you talk a little bit about being preemptive in this current environment? What does it look like?
Well, preemptive can mean many things. It really means being able to pre-identify any kind of either competition, resistance, restriction, constraint, and overcoming that. So you do it many ways. Preemptive can mean getting access to a market before anybody else. That can be a partnering deal. Preemptive can mean being able to present your product with answers to questions most people wouldn't ask that you've already successfully overcome. Preemptive can mean making it easier for people to try it out than not by having some kind of risk reversal. Preemptive can mean knowing that people are going to choose it in a comparative basis against both other products in that category, other products that are alternative categories that deal with the same problem, and doing nothing. And preemptive means establishing in the beginning what's called the buying criteria, so that it's impossible to see any other alternative choice being good. Preemptive means taking people on a very powerful vision, acknowledging where they are right now in their business or life, what it is they want to accomplish that perhaps they have never verbalized, how this product or service, once engaged or deployed in their business or their life, is going to make the achievement of that goal possible. And then finally, what life is going to be like once that product is working for them. And then you're going to talk about them compared to people who do not do it. But those are some of the things you do with preemption. There's tons more, but I hope that helped.
Yes, it does. And what I was wondering, because we mentioned the competition of people selling similar products if you're a commodity business, but we also mentioned the competition being free products, free information. So that's one of the questions in the chat. Like, because now there's so much available for free, should one give away part of their services and products for free in order to get a bigger audience or to get people to taste what they have to offer?
Well, let me give you a multiple faceted answer. I do not believe free has the value people think. I believe you're much better off buying somebody an introduction or a experience or a application or a short-term usage of your product or service, so that it has value. If you say someone has to take the first investment, I believe that you or your company is worthy. So I would like to buy you and then you fill in the blank, a 1 month experience, a short course primer, a day at our spa, a 15-day supply of our cosmetic, enough of our supplements to get your energy up as much as double, and your sleep extended at least 4 hours. And I'm doing it for a reason. And then you stipulate the mutual performance, the reason why. I believe that if you're the person or you're the company that I believe, and I invest whatever this is that's worth $50, $500 in you, that investment will pay off in the following ways. One, you are someone who'll take it seriously, so you will use it as intended, as if you paid for it every day. You will judge its value. You will observe its impact. You'll watch the benefit it produces in your life or in your business. As you see significant positive outcome, you will start realizing that that is only a fraction of what you could be receiving ongoing if you became a full client and paid for the full service or product and had us constantly in your life. I would imagine that if you are the person we believe and we buy you this trial or this introductory or this first month or this package or whatever it is, that upon applying it or using it, when you look back, you will see how profoundly better we have helped you, whatever the application is. And unless we're wrong, given what we already know about you, you'll never want to be without this. Thus, our investment in you will pay a reciprocal benefit or yield to us, because you'll want to continue on a compensated basis. And when you do, we will extend a wonderfully appealing price and package to you in exchange for you signing up for continuous service, something like that, Sebastian.
So it's a positioning difference, first of all, between giving the product or service for free or buying it for them, if I'm correct, right?
Because I personally believe that the latter has much higher perceived value, has more respect, has more commands more authority, and ties better to a reason why.
And so what you're doing is you make it clear that this is the beginning of a relationship, that you hope to become very fruitful and profitable on both sides. And you also make clear what your expectations are of what they will do if the relationship turns out well. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It's very well stated. Yep.
Okay. So to give an example for some of the people here that have already seen me on webinars, one way that we do this is when I start one of my webinars, at the very beginning, at the very beginning, I tell people, here's everything you're going to be learning on this webinar. And also at the end, I will be making an offer. And sometimes I even give the full value of the offer, even though I haven't explained what the offer is yet. But I think it sets the tone. I haven't had crowds of people running out of the webinar and saying, oh my God, if he's going to sell something, then I have to leave. But it's the opposite. It makes it clear that if they find what I have to say valuable and they're interested in working with me, that's something that will be available at the end of the first positive contact we've had. So, Jay, if someone is in a situation right now where they are considering more than one opportunity or more than one business, would you say they should start with the easiest one, the one where they have the most passion, the one with the most skills or assets, or the one the market wants? Which one should be?
We say start with the one you could win the fastest, the safest, and the longest, and then use that as a basis to go to the next and the next. There's an adage which is it's simple, but he who can afford to come back and market another day wins. I mean, I think that in today's world, it is very possible that you can get very excited about a concept that may not turn out as successful as you want. If you have 5 concepts you're contemplating, they all are not. It's the equivalent of one size does not fit all. they're not all worth the same. Consequently, one's going to have a higher probability of success, a lower risk factor, more sustainable, maybe not grow as big, but if you can start something tomorrow and it works very easily with the least amount of risk and capital, and it all of a sudden can make you $10,000 or $15,000 a month, and it's stable, and then you can use that revenue to fund another that may be a little more risky, but a much higher profit potential. And you keep basically building that way, and you never go out with your first concept with something that's very, very speculative, where you're going to have to put everything on the line, get a mortgage on your house, and put everything in hopefulness. And if it doesn't work, you lose everything. There's no need to be a successful entrepreneur by putting yourself at horrible risk. That's a fallacy, not necessary. You can test, pre-test, experiment, partner. You can find ways to minimize the downside as you are experimenting and validating with new business models. And again, if you have 10 that you're interested in, why would you go with the most speculative, the most costly, the most dangerous, and the one that has the lowest probability of working, which would blow you out and take all your capital, when you've got two other ones that aren't going to be as sexy, maybe not going to be $1 million deals, but if each one could be $150,000 secure and high probability income and sustaining revenue, then you use that to fund the more speculative things. I always say progress your way into it. That way you will never blow up. You don't want to blow up.
So for people that are thinking of betting it all on black or on red, you're saying don't go play roulette with your business ideas right now.
Yeah, hedge yourself. Play the line too, or whatever. I don't play roulette, but I mean, you don't have to strike out. You don't have to be psychic. You don't have to figure. I mean, the wonderment of testing, the wonderment of experimentation, the wonderment of trying things, the wonderment of, if you don't have a product or service right now, using somebody else's temporarily just to have something to fulfill, to see if there's a market, the ability to do things down and dirty to start with, and then really improve when the market shows you that you're deserving of doing it. If you operate that way, you're going to always be able to come back and market another day. You can build an empire if you want.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is there's so much, how do you say that? Low-hanging fruit already in terms of opportunity.
And there'll be so many more in this window if you can just identify them, and if you can see them and you can seize them.
So let's say someone applies what we were talking about and they decide to go out and get some joint ventures and partnerships going, and to minimize the risk on both sides by having it be results-based. So Monday asks on the chat, how do you make sure that the finances, that you have control on the finances and you are sure everybody is transparent on how the money is flowing? You understand what I mean? In terms of trust.
It's not that hard. If you're putting two deals together, the first thing you do is don't get involved. I mean, this is the problem. We think we want to throw ourselves into situations where we have limited control. And again, you have options, you have choices. We are a world of free will. I only go into deals where it is very clear where revenue comes from and what costs are to service that revenue. If you make deals with other companies, you are going to bring them, or they're going to bring you components, whether it's buyers, whether it's products, whether it's services, whether it's distribution, and whatever it is, you can isolate it, you can measure it. It should be newfound either sales or clients or accounts that did not exist before for anyone. And it's not hard to be able to know what that account is worth in revenue.
Mhm.
You have an understanding with whomever is managing the partnership. They are responsible for the logistics. So there is some cost to fulfill whatever the product or service is. It's not what most people think, because if you take your business right now, Sebastian, and let's say your business did $3 million, and let's say you had 25 employees and your overhead was $1.5 million, and your including everything, and your salary was 500,000. You divide all that right now into your revenue and say that, every sale cost us X, but that's not really true. It's just that fixed overhead. Any additional newfound incremental business that either you bring to someone or someone brings to you costs you much less. There's just an incremental cost, which is much less. You figure what that is, and you fairly apply that either to the other side or you, whoever manages it. And beyond that, other than, credit cards, or if there's a delivery charge or a setup charge or an allocation for technical support, then everything above that, every transaction, if it's repeat or if it's single, is profit to be split. And then you might find that within that there are new buyer names. Those names can be shared or not. It depends on the agreement. And if they're shared, then each side could get participation on all revenue that comes from those buyers. Or you can agree just to share them, and all you do is share on the first sale and nothing else. I mean, there's no absolute. It's whatever combination works for the deal.
So to give an example, when we started to work together, the agreement you sent me was literally one page, and I answered back with more details on what our costs would be and exactly which costs would be considered to be part of the partnership.
Right.
And it all comes out to a page and a half. So I think for most people that are listening to us, most of these partnerships could be a one-pager agreement that's very simple on like how the revenue is generated, where it goes, how is the cost spent, and how we track profit and split it. So now, after the question,
if it gets that big, by the way, if it gets so big that it's making you, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, you hire somebody to stay at whoever's business is handling that, and they audit them and they monitor and they get reports.
Yeah, because it becomes worth doing it.
Yeah, that $600 or $700 a week is insurance.
So we talked about the how, but we have questions going on about the when, like whether in a crisis is a good time to start a business, specifically right now, online businesses. But there have been concerns among people that, well, if people are getting laid off or businesses are furloughing or not making as much cash flow, what is an upstart entrepreneur that's getting started now, are they in a worse position than if they were getting started a few months before the crisis?
That's the wrong question. The question is, what products or services are the right ones to start in a downward crisis economy, and which ones are? And that's too generic. Why would you generalize? I mean, in any market, at any time, adverse or prosperous, there's demand for different things. I mean, if you can basically help somebody who's out of work figure out how to get himself or herself either at the top of the employment recruiting heap, that's probably got value. If you can figure out how to show somebody who's got a skill set how to take that skill and turn it into a service, that instead of trying to get a single job, maybe they sell it fractionally to 5 people, and you give them a plan that could make them as much money or more than they did before, that's a service. If they need to figure a new skill set or ability that they can either take to new employers or be a resource for, you have to, and they train them, that's appealing. If they want to start a business and they don't have any business knowledge, but they have to because they're worried they'll never get a job again, and then you have the ability to help them not only learn the safest way to do it, but identify the most desirable ways to do it, and you can help them figure out how to do it, where to source the product, service, or knowledge. That's good. I mean, it's what will work, not should you do it.
So if someone was going to start a piano business right now, or a piano course business right now, they should be thinking in terms of, well, could we have an offer that's how to learn piano at home, even when the kids are running around?
Yeah.
But there's still something they can do that is appropriate to the current situation.
Yeah, you can say, look, we think that learning this has 3 different benefits. 1, it will relax you. 2, it will help open up your creative juices, which will be very useful when you go into either the employment or the business competitive world. 3, it'll ground and stabilize you. We think so much about this, and it's so valuable to not just your stress and your relaxation, but your career or business success going forward, that we want to buy you the first 30 days, as long as you promise you'll take it as serious as if you wrote us a check for $100, and we'll give you great rapid result compression training, meaning you will be actually able to sit down and play no less than 5 complete songs within week 2 and 10 within week 4. And that ability will give you the capability of relaxing at will, getting your head clear, turning on and turning up your creativity that can be applied to your business or career pursuits. If we're right and you see an enormous benefit that comes from this, then we would hope that you would want to continue the lessons, because we can keep taking you deeper and higher. And while $100 is the normal rate, we want to support your reimmersion into the world and your success. So we are willing to buy down 35% of your fee for the next 3 months until you get solidly on footing, and then we'll go back to the normal rate, something like that.
So in this situation, you're making sure that the offer has an accelerated result that you can put forward,
Yes.
because that helps diminish the risk on the client
You
side.
establish the outcome expectation.
So because we've talked about adapting to the current situation, and we have just a few minutes left, so I want to make sure that we cover one important question, because we're talking about adapting and adapting the communication, adapting the offers. Do you think it's possible to do too much and to sound exploitative or manipulative in using a lot of the um, empathy of the current crisis, but do you think it's possible to do it too much or to do it awkwardly? And how can someone avoid that?
The only way it's possible is if there's no congruency with your intent. If you really care about whatever your product, service, company is capable of contributing, then you should be very comfortable expressing that or having your copywriter. The only way it doesn't work is if you're basically trying to game them, trying to basically be very superficial and inauthentic. If you believe that what you are offering will make a meaningful difference, and you have the ability to express that belief and and uh, and communicate and demonstrate why you believe that and what you believe the impact will be in their life or business or finances or whatever, I don't think there's anything at all negative, at all manipulative, at all inauthentic. I think it comes down to being true to yourself and your intention and knowing that we are rewarded in our lives, in business and in every relationship, Sebastian, in direct proportion to the quantity, quality, and consistency of problems we help people solve and opportunities we help make possible. There will never be a time where we have as much of an opportunity and chance to help people solve problems and achieve opportunities. And if we are congruent to ourselves, we operate from integrity and preeminence, and we share with our target audience the truth as we see it, the method to our madness, and why and how we believe our product or service, once working in their lives or their business, can make a meaningful and a critical difference right now when they need it the most. There's nothing at all un, un, improper or awkward or negative about any of this.
So, what should someone do who's listening to us right now to go deeper if they want to get started or like get their business either off the ground or back on track? What's like the first step you'd recommend?
Well, I mean, you and I are obviously going to be extending to them access to different collaborative services, and I would say if they are in a position to do that, you're very, very committed. I'm outrageously committed. Our collaboration has proven to be extraordinarily valuable to people. So as you make whatever we are going to do available, I think that they need to do that. Other than that, if they're on their own, I always say you got to sit down and get clear on where you are now, on where you think you want to be, but evaluate that. I mean, I learned a long time ago in my life, Sebastian, what I call the highest and best use theory. And what that means is all things being equal, it costs the same time, the same opportunity, the same capital, the same opportunity cost, uh, the same energy, access to the same market to do something that would produce X versus something that would produce 5 or 10X. Costs the same to do something that has a very high volatile level versus something that has a low one. So the first thing you want to do is not just go out there and do something. And if you have an existing business, not just go out there and pick the first modification that you think the market wants. Think through carefully, slowly, the options, the alternatives, and the implications, meaning probability and outcome, risk, reward, uh, 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 competition out there, where and how you can counter program against what everyone else is doing, saying, offering, the package, the proposition, and then create for yourself. I mean, we will do that, of course, but if you want to do it on your own, create for yourself a template or a matrix where you put your choices through before you do anything, because you're going to have a lot of different ways you can do this. There's going to be the optimal way, then there'll be the suboptimal way, then there'll be the dangerous way, then there's going to be the outright dumb or stupid way, no disrespect. And same time, effort, risk or less, market or less. You want to go where you have the highest viability, probability of winning. That's it.
Thank you, Jay. And I just want to close because we are at time and I value your time.
Thank you.
Just want to share with the audience that Jay has offered, if you have a fast growing business, so we are talking about businesses, either in the French or English speaking markets, but you have a business that is currently at 7 figures or more, or is growing rapidly to pass that segment, then we have saved time. So to use Jay's explanation that he was saying earlier, so Jay has bought time for you to get a consulting session. We're doing a small group where you'll get a little chance to interact and speak with us and get Jay's feedback on how your business can best capitalize on the current situation and how you can thrive, not just survive in the current situation. So I'll also say it in French in a second because many people watching are French. But first, I want to thank you again, Jay, for everything that you shared today and the insight that you've shared.
It's my pleasure, and I hope it had value. And Sebastian, I don't know which you or we have the video, but get us the video and we will share it with our audience and see if people want to be part of this on an international basis. So it might be fun. But I think these were a good start, and I hope people will have the chance to reflect on this deeply, because I think we nailed some of the key elements, distinctions, awarenesses that people they must recognize and embrace if they want the rest of their business life to be successful and go and grow and survive and thrive. And I promise these are the strongest, safest, surest ways to do it. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jay. And I'll just close by saying, si vous nous avez regardé donc que vous parlez principalement français, je vais expliquer en français pour clore. Donc Jay a proposé, nous avons organisé une session qui sera en petit comité où Jay a acheté nous avons acheté du temps de consulting spécifiquement pour vous, pour que Jay soit disponible pour échanger pendant 15 minutes avec chaque entreprise. Nous faisons un petit groupe de 6 entreprises. Donc, si vous avez une entreprise à croissance rapide qui génère 1 million d'euros ou plus de chiffre d'affaires ou ou était juste avant la crise en route vers ce volume, eh bien, vous pouvez m'envoyer un simple email à l'adresse qui est affichée à l'écran pour qu'on puisse vous transmettre les informations et que vous puissiez participer. C'est sans engagement et c'est entièrement gratuit parce que Jay et moi sommes convaincus que cette période de crise, c'est une période d'opportunité pour les entreprises et que les entrepreneurs aujourd'hui, eh bien, sont ceux qui vont sauver notre économie, permettre à nos pays de se redresser malgré les difficultés de la crise sanitaire et économique. Et donc, on compte sur vous, et pour pouvoir vous aider à avoir cet effet de levier, eh bien, Jay a décidé de se rendre disponible. So, thanks again, Jay. And anyone that wants to speak to us, you have an email here, even though the caption is in French. And we'll get back to you quickly with how to get a small group at Seats with Jay to talk about the situation and how you can thrive in the current economic situation. Thanks again, Jay. Talk to you very soon.
Good luck.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.